He didn't touch it.
Did you see that in a
Well, we
raffle?
did.
Or else he-
73
Our
here now.
meeting on Wednesday, CD does. I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
The air
Yeah,
conditioning's
see if
on
I have any
upstairs.
questions.
You been out some wine?
She's better.
Good, like
I
that.
mean, the whole part about. I don't know.
Oh, nothing but work.
I went over there, Hollywood, after you told me your lucky story. Give him a couple $100 back.
Call this November 10th, 2014 Lawrenceburg Redevelopment Commission order. Roll call.
Grant Hughes.
Here.
Like Tom Rogers.
Here.
Johnny Bryant.
Here.
Tony Abbott.
Here.
Aaron Cook.
Here.
And Pat Morris is absent. And City Attorney Leslie Votaw.
Here.
The approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. I do have one correction. It has me as president, and I was on, as president, but I was on vacation. I was absent.
Also need a motion from the board. Everybody's okay that Mr. Cook is handling the meeting tonight?
Not so move.
Second.
I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. Hopefully you say that.
Yay.
And so
Thank you.
we're looking for the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting from October 13th with the correction.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Announcements, the next regularly scheduled meeting will be December 8th, 2014 at 5 o'clock. And the financial report, the paper's in the packet. As of October 31st, 2014, the balance is $1,202,437.81. New business, Tim Jensen, the Veritas contract extension.
Thank you, Your Honor. In your packet, there should be a letter from me talking about our contract. If you remember right, back in 2011, a long time ago when we started this thing, you guys were gracious enough to grant us a 2-year contract for the project through an hourly agreement, but then through the changes and whatnot that came through the Hilton and decision and other things, we extended it a year last year. That extension ran out at the end of October. So we've billed through the end of October, and we're currently working in November, obviously without a contract at this point. So we're just putting it in front of you, and we're seeing our hours start to dwindle off in November as we wrap this thing up, and then December will be very nominal, but there will be some project closeout as we continue to work through the structure point design issues and whatnot. And so we're just asking that the hourly agreement be extended with the same limits, but we won't hit the limits, I promise you that, for the next 2 months, and then it should be wrapped up.
And you may want to add also, Tim, that the other CMs on the job will be off the job
Yeah.
as of Friday.
So as of Friday, Messer is leaving the site. They will no longer be there, and so we're going to continue to work, whether you extend it or not, we're going to continue to work with Mario and the city staff to make sure this thing gets closed out properly. But we're just asking if the board pleases that we'd have our time compensated for the hours that we're spending still in the last 2
How
months.
much time we talking about?
Well, as much as it takes, really, Donnie, but again, we're still limited by our contract, because our contract has a limit on it. So I can't give you an estimate of what it's going to take, because we're still punch listing and doing a bunch of stuff here towards the end, and managing Messer and all the guys on site trying to get this thing done and pushed across the line. Like I said, we've actually hit our maximum and had to write off a few $1,000s here over the last couple of months as we've been dealing with a lot of changes and a lot of external stuff with structure points issues, Schindler's issues, Triton's issues, all these different things that are coming up. November will not hit the maximum, I can guarantee that. We're already dwindling time down. Mine's almost down to 5 hours a week instead of the 15 that it was. David's is reduced dramatically in November, so it won't hit the maximum in November. And then December is just going to be a few hours here and there as we close out the project and do the final budgets and all the different things that are there that go into closing a project. So,
Closed by December, late December.
yes.
And after that, you may see 1 or 2 hours for just carryover type stuff.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Motion to approve the hourly agreement for the extension of 2 months. for Paradis,
I'd like to make a motion to extend the hourly.
for the 2 months.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All against?
Thank you, guys.
To be sure, that's until December 31st.
That's what I have, yeah, so. Now, I don't know, Mara, does that need to go for Board of Works then? No? Okay.
Not how we handled the last one.
No, yeah, you're correct.
Okay.
But what you may want to do, if you would amend your motion not to exceed 2 months.
Right. That's fine, too.
You want to amend your motion?
Amend it to not to exceed 2 months.
I'll second that again.
All in favor?
Aye.
All
Okay.
against? Carries.
That is, it's your own.
Old business, Tim Jensen, Schindler update.
So the next three things that we'll go through very quickly here for you guys. Schindler update. We have received, Ms. Votal received a letter, I think it was 5 or 6 page long letter from Schindler's council. Schindler is, for everybody's benefit, is the elevator and escalator contractor that's on site. So they installed all the elevators and the escalators. As we've been keeping you guys abreast on a couple issues that are going on with the elevator company, we have issued, Leslie's office issued a letter to them, I don't know, a couple months ago, probably now, regarding the city's position on this, and this was a combination of your staff as well as our office, Messer, and Structure Point, the design team, compiled into one letter that was then issued by the city to Schindler. We received a couple weeks ago a 5-page letter back from Schindler responding to our letter, or to the city's letter. We have sent, there was 2 main points that came up in that letter, and I'll just rehash this for you very quickly. But out of his 13 or 14 different paragraphs that he had in this, the 2 main points were that they claimed that the construction documents were faulty, or poorly put together, is the one big point. And then the second big point he had out of all of the paragraphs was that Messer's on-site staff had told him something during the bidding process. He referred to Mr. Tumlin on a few different occasions having giving advice or giving making certain statements throughout the bidding and or award process. So we have had both Structure Point and the design team, as well as Messer, review the letter, and they've gotten us information back as late last week, I believe it was, we got everything back. So and I've given that all to Ms. Votal now. So we'll be, I'm sure it's probably on our schedule to kind of review this here in the next week or two and fully respond back to the attorney as well. But it is an ongoing process, so this is just more of an update for you guys. I'm sure Leslie has the letter if you guys want to see the letter. I don't know if I have a copy. I do have a copy here if somebody wants to see it afterwards. But it is,
I can make copies.
yeah. It was sent at the end of October, late October was that letter, and we're now responding and putting our response back to this.
And I don't think we're at where they're saying, forget about it, we're going to mediation and suit. But it was pretty adamant. So once I get all the information, as far as from all the parties, Tim said, we'll try it one more time to send something out to them and then report back probably at the next meeting to you guys.
We will definitely have a report at the next meeting, so. Any questions on Schindler? If it's okay with you, I'd like to move on to the next point, Triton. So Triton Services, we talked about this, and you guys gave us some direction last month. So last month, Mr. Samargandi was here. He came in and presented his point of view. We talked about the different ways to calculate the extended general conditions. And he answered a lot of your questions, and I know not everybody was here. I think, Mr. Abbott, you may have been gone last month, but at least most of you were here and heard this discussion. And I think the direction, if I remember right.
That would be the one, Mr. Abbott.
You were gonna try one more time.
What's that?
I thought you were
Tony
gonna.
was here.
Tony was here.
I was here.
Mr. Cook
Aaron
was here.
was
Okay. Mr. Cook was gone, and I think Mr. Lawrence was gone, right, at that
Yes.
meeting? Okay. So there was 3 board members here. I apologize for that. The 3 board members here. The direction we were given, we also had CPS here, if you remember that, and that gentleman stood up and spoke about this. The direction that was given right at the end of the meeting was, I think it was by Mr. Abbott, was to have the city's team, including the legal counsel, meet with Mr. Samargandi one more time to see if we could hammer out some kind of deal to avoid mediation in court. That was the direction that was given. The reason being, we talked a long time about hiring CPS to review the books of Triton, and Mr. Summergandhi of Triton specifically stood up here and said that as soon as you open my books, my offer no longer exists, and we'll go back to the $460,000 claim, and he wanted to go to court over that. So that's why I think Mr. Abbott made the motion that we take one more stab at negotiating with him on his number. So I put in your packet a letter dated November 4th from last week. So we met that Thursday, and that was Mr. Todd, myself, was it Joe or Leslie? Joe was there, and then Mr. Clark, I think, was there as well. So there was 4 of us, and then Mr. Summergandhi was there on October 16th, and we talked for about an hour. If you remember right, they had offered a settlement of roughly $260,000, and we were at $147,000 is what our offer was. If you split that down the middle, at the end of the day, we agreed to at least bring the settlement of $203,000 to the redevelopment commission for your guys' vote. We told them from the very beginning we couldn't promise that this would be approved, but that we could come to if there was some middle ground that we could come to avoid mediation and avoid court of any kind or lawsuits, that we would at least bring it back to you guys for your attention. So we're bringing that back to you tonight for your review and approval if you wish, or denial, whichever way you guys decide to go. I will say that the $203,000 does fit within the budget that we originally set apart for extended general conditions. He has agreed that if it's approved tonight, that he will not pursue any mediation or any lawsuits of any kind. And so I think that if you guys were to approve this, I think that payment would come with some notice from your legal department stating, he's waived his rights to pursue any further action at this time. So it's really up to you guys. We're here to answer questions. Mr. Todd and myself are both in that meeting, so we can answer whatever questions you might have.
I think we're at a number that we should accept, because I think it's gonna cost us more to go after this thing.
Yeah, because this is something I would definitely refer and defer to Construction Process Solutions.
Cool.
They're the ones that would help us as far as the mediation, getting prepared for mediation, so.
And ain't no guarantees. And he's
No,
gonna-
and CPS did give me, they said it would probably only be like a 2 to 3 hour thing for the Triton claim, but the CPS individual was also here last time, correct?
Yes.
I wasn't at the meeting, but he did contact me afterwards and gave me kind of an update as far as how much he expected as far as hours it would take. And I believe it might have been 1 to 3, just depending on, how long the mediation lasts, correct?
we have problems with somebody like this. Is there a list, like a Better Business Bureau list or something you can put our thoughts after something like this here?
I would imagine there
People
is.
don't get caught with this guy. This guy's slick. He's slick.
I'm not stating that.
The way he had his, everybody else.
He didn't want us to look at his books, I don't think.
Right.
He did not want us to touch him,
But he knows it's gonna cost us more.
He's a professor and an attorney.
Yeah, he's slick. But it was gonna cost us. He had us in a bind.
I'd like to make a motion, we accept Mr. Samargandhi's settlement of $203,000.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Motion carries.
And there will actually be a settlement agreement actually prepared. And what I will do, if the board will allow me to do that, is to get, it would be to get your signature, since you're the vice chairman here tonight, for me to go ahead and do that without bringing it back in front of the board, if that's, all
That's fine.
right, if you
think
guys
it'll
could
be
do that in the form
Per the
of-
letter, this needs to be wrapped up before November 16th, the 30 days, so that would be this week sometime if we could get
Right,
that.
but as long as we do a letter to him and say we have
I think so,
accepted it,
yeah.
and then
Yes.
we can prepare a settlement agreement. But if you guys could give me the okay to just go ahead and get Mr. Rogers' signature once that's prepared, that would be great.
And we'll process that payment as soon as we can, as soon as we have the signed agreement.
Let's still move to do that.
Second.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think they,
Dan, one more question.
Yes, sir.
Why didn't Mr. Samargandhi want us to look in his books? He came up out of that chair, was right up front, and he was one of the smoothest guys I've ever, he was something. And why didn't he, that's the only thing that made me feel like he was guilty, if he was, but he didn't want us looking any, was that a bad rep or something?
Well, I can't speak to his motives or intentions, obviously, but he's offered to us several times to look at his books to prove that what he is claiming is correct. Through our conversations and discussions with him, he did admit to us that he has, 3 or 4 companies? Multi companies that go all through the same office, which would lend some, interesting questions to what his books really do look like. The biggest issue that we had as a team from the city pursuing this was that he was very firm on the fact that if we were to open his books, his argument goes back to the 460,000.
But that's a threat, though.
Sure it is, but it's a threat that goes to mediation as well, so.
If it was my money, I'd have said, okay, we're coming, buddy, we're gonna open your books, but it's not our money.
Yeah, he had us, it would have cost us more. I thought he was wrong too. Now,
I mean, at the end of the day, even if,
we noting some lessons learned from
I
this,
know,
Tim,
I
that
know.
like we're
But
gonna have other
stubbornness,
projects in
yeah,
this
I'm
town
not
that
for
we check on how they're figuring their numbers and
Yeah,
stuff
so
before
we
we get
talked
into a situation like this again.
We talked about this a little bit last time, and what we've encouraged the city to do is to take a look at their standard agreement for contractors and actually list the methods by which they can calculate general
Yes,
overhead.
Definitely.
Sorry.
go ahead, Grant, that was, he just brought to my attention.
I think, one of the things is we're gonna look at the city contracts, but I think we're going to eliminate that up at the front end, that we will not recognize that
Ikley method.
argument, the Ikley argument.
And that's what Mr. Bryant was just asking, what are we gonna
Definitely
change
need to-
moving forward? So there's, as we talked about last week, there's a lot of different ways to calculate this particular number. Obviously, the one he used was most advantageous to him, and the contract doesn't exclude it. So as we've talked with the city, it looks like the city staff is most likely going to be precluding that from any, or excluding that from any
You still wouldn't be
contract.
able to preclude it at any kind of trial, or
Right.
even mediation, for that matter.
Right.
But if you-
But as far as during,
Now, if they know during bidding, though,
yeah.
right, that they can't use that in the future, then they would have signed that contract.
See, that's based off his annual overhead. And again, if he's got 4 or 5 companies, it'd be hard to vet out or even flush out what.
Well, I would just be careful in what language we do use. We'll definitely have to review that because there's a, it is difficult waiving any type of defense in a, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it would
Not if
definitely
it's
have to
not
be a
recognized
waiver.
in the state that you operate in.
Well, like I said, we'll have to review that, make sure that it's legally written, not something they just,
Further discussion on trade settlement offer? We'll move on to the design liability update offer.
All right, thank you. This is the last thing that I have for you guys this evening. In your packet, you should have a letter written by your construction manager in-house, Mario Todd, that was issued to Structure Point. Of course, all this stuff in here, as we stated many times, is contingent upon your guys' approval. We've given you spreadsheet after spreadsheet, and the spreadsheets haven't changed in the last 2 months as far as the updated list. This talks about, there's 9 more items out there that we're currently negotiating right now with an additional value of $73,000. But what we're suggesting, what the city's team is suggesting, is that of the 26 items that Structure Point and the design team have made an offer on, that ranges in about 46 to 47% of those items that they've made the offer. So if you look at the third paragraph down on the letter, it says that that Structure Point has made compensation offer on 26 of the change items in a total amount of $80,610. If you ever refer back to the spreadsheets, those 26 change orders were in the total of about $176,000, which again puts us in that 45% range that we would be getting back from Structure Point on those items. We're recommending, and the reason that this whole letter was issued, even though we have an ongoing discussion, is the city team had a conference call with Structure Point's principals, which would be the president and the vice president and then the architect. And they said that they weren't going to respond to us anymore until we actually made an official offer or accepted their offer on the items of which they've offered. Now, if you remember when CPS was in here a couple different times, one of the things.
That all directions from their insurance company.
Correct, yeah. So that was coming from their insurance company saying, we're not going to continue negotiations until we know whether the city's going to take our settlement payment for these items or not. So CPS told the team internally that typical design liability issues, you could expect to claim between, what did he say, 25 and 35%. I think it was somewhere around in there is what you would expect to get back on design liability questions and problems. This number is at 45%, so that's why our team internally is putting this up for your guys' review, that we are suggesting that on these specific 26 items, that we accept the 80,000 in compensation for that. And then we're asking that there's 52 more items that still need to be considered by Structure Point as part of the process. But they won't even respond to us on the remaining ones until we do something on the first 26. And so if it's the board's pleasure to approve it, then we'll send this and make sure it's confirmed with them that this is what they're going to do. If it's not your pleasure to do that tonight, we'll give them that message, and then we'll just move into the next phase of negotiations. So it's really up to your board's approval.
And again, they're saying that is the protocol of their insurance company.
Further discussion about these 26 change items?
And I did, Your Honor, we did create a spreadsheet kind of attachment. I don't think it was in your packet. I looked at Mario's packet today and it wasn't there. If you guys would like one of these, which one, would you like one of these? I made a couple of copies since I saw it was not in Mr. Todd's packet.
Have you all handed them to be on our no more work list?
This was supposed to be I'll get one for you too. This is the same spreadsheet you guys saw
Yeah.
a month ago and even the prior month to that. All we did was separate out the 26 are on the front page, and then the balance of the other ones are on the back page. So you can see exactly which ones they've offered and which ones they haven't.
52 are on the back page.
Correct.
And that list is still getting larger.
Yeah, it's getting bigger as we speak. So the first page is all the 26 items that they actually made an offer on. The back page is the items that they said they don't have any they don't have any liability in, is what they're arguing right now. So we're saying, let's accept the offer on page 1 for everything, because that's 45% of the total. This is what we're suggesting. And then we will continue to negotiate with them as this letter kind of gets strong about in the end, about why the reasons why we feel we're owed compensation for these back items.
What's your legal opinion down there?
The fact is that they did say that their insurance care needed a written response as far as, and that's why we wrote the letter. They just helped us with the numbers, and we went over everything. I mean, I do think the bullet points speak for themselves. I do think we're saying, you know, okay, we may be able to go ahead and settle on these 26 items, but we're not going to agree to no compensation on the remaining 52.
Kind of get some back history on it. When we started the first discussions, we were gonna let this laundry list grow and wait to the end of it and see what that total was gonna be. Well, that conversation has went on for the last 8 months, and now they're saying, well, our insurance company says you gotta take the first list and deal with it before we can move on. Now, if I'm an insurance carrier or underwriter, I don't wanna write you multiple checks. We thought, one check would be sufficient, but according to.
And even if we do settle for these 26 items, there'll definitely be language in there that says we don't waive any future, claims, to any other.
Future item, yeah.
Any items, and even attaching page 2.
Right, I think that language
Yeah.
needs to be strong to say that we're gonna still pursue,
Right.
I think we did.
It'll be fashioned
These
so
changes,
that we're
these changes
clear.
weren't the city's changes. It was.
Correct, right, and that's the point we make in the letter, and the letter basically says that any changes directed by the city, as a result of something we wanted or needed or whatever, the city paid for those.
Or Hollywood did.
Or Hollywood paid for them. These are items that were strictly from errors and omissions in the design documents. And we're near $600,000 in the.
Jim, was you there to sign off on these changes?
We're all there to sign off on the changes. The changes have to be done.
They have to be done, but I
There-
mean, they
there's-
should have been explained, there's an understanding that, that these changes are not the city's.
We state that every,
Yeah.
We say that every time, and immediately, as soon as one comes up, the process is like this. So as soon as a change comes up, say a contractor comes to us and says, hey, this isn't on the drawings, but it's required by code, right? That's been a pretty common one. So it's an error or an omission from the plan document. So we confirm, number one, that it's required by code. That change gets sent to the design team. They review it and give us an opinion, which often says, yes, you're right, it's a code issue. This is required to be put into the project. We immediately put them on notice and say, okay, because it has to be done, it's not in the drawings, we're going to do it, we're going to pay for it out of our contingency, but this is going on the design liability list to be a further discussion with the design team, and we're going to pursue compensation for this item. That's stated every single time that happens.
I think there should be something in the schedule to take care of these items as the project's going along and sign off, everybody, both sides, that it's took care of before it gets this big. It's a lot of stuff, a lot of money.
Well, you gotta remember, a lot of these, like Tim was just saying, you've got to complete A before you move to B. So if you stop B for too long a time, you're gonna incur all type of other costs there, and you've worked construction, you know what I mean? If they forgot to design a ledge in something, you need that ledge to build something on, we just can't hold up everybody in a project and say, stop.
Right. I mean, the best analogy that you gave me was there was something about the hood in the kitchen area. It came out from the outside, the piece in the middle was not there, and then you had the hood. So that piece in the middle, obviously, we wouldn't know, they wouldn't know, Messer wouldn't know, just to say, that piece should be there. The design people should,
And there's issues with mechanical and electrical that, again, it all kind of goes to the next discipline, and you can't really stop those other disciplines without a large cost. I mean, it's not their fault,
Right.
The electrician or whomever, the
Contractor in the field. And this is a very large project. It's a complicated project for many reasons. And, we expected some level of issues and problems on the site, and I think anybody in construction can tell you that you're going to have issues on even on simple projects, you have issues sometimes. This one's a very complicated project, so we anticipated some, and the letter makes mention of that. It makes mention that we anticipated some, but we didn't anticipate to this level. We would have made other changes throughout the project in order to get to a buildable, within budget. Now, I will tell you that we are still within budget. With the changes that were made to the Hilton plan and everything else, and the changes that were approved, we have yet to touch the $1.3 million loan that was added to for Hollywood. So we're still $500,000 under our original budget on this, even with these change orders. So we're working through that situation. It's,
I guess in hindsight, if you go back to that the first bullet, the last paragraph on the front page there, there were 900 questions. Just on the bid documents. I guess should have been a red flag, but at that time, we're moving forward.
Any further discussion? I'll entertain a motion to.
you have a comment?
I got one question.
It's up to you.
I just got a question. Are you making this deal with, or agreement with Structure Point, or are you making it with Structure Point and their insurance company? And I guess the reason why I'm asking this question is because if you make it with Structure Point and you're settled on these 20-some odd items, and then you get together on the next 52, and Structure Point takes them and goes to their insurance company, and they say, no, we've already settled on this.
According to Structure Point, per their phone call last week, we're dealing with the insurance company's money, not their money.
However, there was some indication to you, though, that there may be something above insurance that they might be able to.
That door was opened.
Well, with our acceptance letter, the first 26, there'll be language in there that we're not accepting, excluding
Maybe.
the
Or-
rating ones.
And we can name both, I mean, it's up to legal counsel whether you name both the insurance company and them. It's up.
Right.
It was the first we've heard about the insurance company.
Well, and I don't think there'd be any checks cut.
I don't think they're going to cut it right away. They just want to know where they're standing.
Exactly.
So they can address the rest of it. And now like I said, we're 3 weeks away from being completely done. We're 4 weeks away from opening the hotel, you know, we're gonna have a really solid list here in the next 3 weeks, that we have a solid number at the end of the project where we can just start hammering away on it and having real conversations with their insurance company. If that's who they want us to talk to, we'll just go right to them. But
So you're saying it could possibly be more?
well, if you look at the second paragraph down here, Mr. Bryant, it talks about that we currently have 9 additional items that aren't on either one of these lists that we're looking at right now. You know, we found some more errors that are currently premiums that we know are going to get compensated for, that we're fixing. We're pushing for a certificate of occupancy as quickly as possible so we can meet Hilton and Hollywood's deadline of opening this thing on December 4th, officially.
I mean, Hilton has the last word as far as when the doors open on
Right.
this thing. It's not Hollywood, it's not the city, it's literally Hilton.
So the hotel's definitely opening, almost definitely opening on.
That's the date that Hilton gave us last week, was December 4th for the grand opening of the hotel portion. And I don't know if any of you made it to the event here this past weekend, but I heard it went very well, from what the mayor told me this morning, so. The concert. Were you there?
Yes, sir, I was. Everything went smooth. It was wonderful.
Good.
I'll entertain a
Grant was there Friday night, weren't you?
Yep, real nice. The
Kinda
whiskey,
monitored the parking and.
the whiskey festival and, was, really nice that evening, and then, parking, really no issues.
Parking garage, I have 289 cars parked in the garage.
Wow.
I think there was a total of 80 to 100 cars street parked.
I'll entertain a motion to accept the offer of compensation at the 26 change items in the amount of $80,610.42 on the first sheet of your spreadsheet here.
So moved.
Motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Motion carries.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
I just one other thing on this. If you know, I speak with our insurance company, and it is like Mr. Seymour is talking about and what we've spoken about. Obviously, we'll not proceed that way, because we do want compensation on the other 52. If they just wanted basically lip service for us to respond to them, which we've done, you know, if that suffices with the insurance company, but we will be talking directly with the insurance company to ascertain that.
Tim, excuse me. Whatever happened to that CSI,
TPS?
CPS?
They were here last time.
So are we in negotiating with them?
No.
We haven't, that's.
He
yeah.
was able to, and without even me being at the meeting, he was able to talk about those, but he was glad he came because he really didn't say anything, but he was able to hear all of the issues. He did give something on this one, on the errors and omissions, I believe he estimated 2 to 4 hours that they would have to do in order to help us out on that.
And I
So.
think as we get into negotiations with them on the tougher items that are the remaining 52 over here, there's some larger dollar items in that 52 list, or the 61 list now. There's some larger dollar items in there that need to be discussed that we can probably have CPS spend the 2 hours on, because it's probably worth the $300 to $700 to give us an opinion on that as we get into negotiations with the insurance company.
I agree.
Because they're actually saying some issues are operation issues. In other words, they're not a design. It's up to the operator to run this facility a certain way and doesn't need or shouldn't have needed this.
Right.
Like the bleachers that don't fit.
Exactly. Exactly.
Grant Hughes, 535 St. Clair Street, Luke Brett.
Thank you, Your Honor. 535 St. Clair Street, the Luke Brett property, and also Canal Street were moved to this meeting, and for discussion on whether to purchase or not. But since we don't have the housing program up and running yet, we probably just need to move that back to January.
Wait a minute.
No, wait a minute. The deal is that wanted to get the program up and running, and currently, that's the next item for discussion, so we can go back up to that one. But 535 and Canal Street. Now, Canal Street's been taken off the market. They have a renter in there. So Larry Weber called us about a month ago and said that not to, he didn't want to sell it at this time. So 535 is the active one.
Do you know what number Canal Street is?
Uh,
Do you know what number, address Canal Street was? I can find it.
It's the last
two
house before
digit.
the turnaround. Well, the yellow house, there's a yellow house, then there's another little modular home sits back, and then Weber's is the next one. So it's the third house.
Like
on Canal.
48 Canal Street or
Oh,
something?
yeah, I rode up there. It's right at the
Is it?
cul-de-sac here at the end of
The
that.
real?
Right before the cul-de-sac.
Yeah, on the right.
Okay, and if it's agreeable, on a housing update, Chairman Mike Lawrence and I met with United Bank, and based on the document, the modifications we made to the document at this board in August and September, we sat down with the bank, and the bank is taking the program to their board for review on November 20th. And then once that's done, it'll come back to this board for your review and final approval. And that'll be a loan program.
What bank is that, UCB?
Yes.
That's all you have on that right now?
That's all I have. I don't know if Satch's got something to say. Satch is anxious on those other two properties.
Yeah, I got questions. I know we're talking about Grant, I know we're moving forward, but I got a house sold, it's gonna close, and I don't have any more property. So, and I'm capable of also doing another one on my own. And we've got St. Clair Street. I mean, I guess I don't like hearing that we're gonna move this back to January because it's just moving it back. And I'd like them to talk about it and move on. I mean, they're either gonna buy it or not. And I don't see where, I can see where you wanna, to get the agreement and the housing update with the bank and everything taken care of. But I really wish you know, this, I'll put it to you plain and simple. I haven't made an offer on a piece of property for a while for one reason. I found out that what that does for me, it lets me pay taxes and cut grass. When I buy a piece of property, I want to build a house. I want to do it quick, and right now, I need to come to you guys and I need to say, hey, I want St. Clair Street on his brother's places. Well, what I see there, and you two over there can input this for me good, is I see a very good house there for you guys to buy. There's 2 lots there. Now, a lot of you guys have said in the last 2 years, I've heard it, the lots are too little. Right now, you got 2 lots that you own sitting there by your brother. Next to it, there's 2 more. If you guys had the other 2, you could say, Paul, I only want 3 houses there. But if I come in here and I make you an offer and I buy one of those lots, you blow that right out of the water. So I guess my point is on that piece of property, I just don't think it's wise to wait till January, because I want to come in here right now. I've got one sold. I just signed the papers on it. I haven't closed yet, but usually when all that paperwork goes through, I can go back to the bank and get things moving, and I'm hoping I can get another one going on before winter. But I just see St. Clair Street as being your next really, really good spot to build a house, along with Canal. If the guy don't want to sell, there's nothing you can do about that. But you've got a guy here wanting to sell. So that's my train of thought, Grant. I'm not against you, but that's how I'm thinking. Do we want 4 houses there, or do we want 3? Do we have to resurvey this thing? Because if I go in there and make you an offer on those 2 lots you got right now, you're pretty much, in my book, committed to 4 houses, and I don't know that everybody wants that. So,
Currently, from the discussion of the board last time this was brought up, was that we had too much land, and we wanted to push that off. Currently, we have 2 lots on St. Clair, which are 33s.
mhm,
1 lot on Utopia that backs up to the park.
mhm.
And then we have 4 lots on Center and Arch.
You said Utopia. Euphemia?
Euphemia.
Sorry. Knew it started with a U.
I'm like, where's Utopia? What's he talking about?
I'm trying. It's all in the eye of the beholder, right? Anyway, and then 1 on Short Street. Now, we have 4 roughly on Cook, but that's kind of wrapped up with Dollar General store. So, our count is 3, 4 that are the 33-foot lots. Center and Arch are the larger lot. They're the 40-foot lots that we've replatted. And then the Cook, we got to work on Cook. I mean, but that's currently what we had, and that's why the feeling at the August-September meeting was we've got too much land. The deal we're trying to structure with the bank would release 3 sites for these houses. To Satch's point, yeah, that would allow us to do larger lots. I don't know what that looks like in that block, whether you're still going to have those 33s, because you still got the house that's the Habitat house across the street. So, I don't know, board's direction.
No, I think I was one of them that said we had too much land, because we wasn't building. We've been trying to get this thing moving along and get these houses started,
Well-
and then we don't have too much
Well,
land.
Everything's been,
plan
yeah,
either.
everything's
I
been
know, but-
advertised, and we went through 2 series of advertisements on it. And I believe I am right about Center and Arch. We're done with that advertising, right, Leslie?
That's why it's on the agenda next. I need to see if you guys want to proceed with an RFP.
Oh, we gotta still go out for the RFP. So, you gotta do that, so that brings us down to 4 lots available, if you don't count Cook.
We're gonna pay $90,000.
And the other point I want to bring up, and I don't think it has anything to do with the talking on the 3 lots grant, but the risk factor here is going up a little bit. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, and we've talked about it, that there needs to be a little bit more for the buyer that's going to buy in between 2 pieces of possible rental property. So I know he's got some thoughts on to bring forward to you, but I think that's something that, you know, before I'll put it out flat blank is before I can build a house on St. Clair next to a piece of rental property, for me to take the risk, I mean, I'd like to see a little bit more for the buyer. We've been given the $10,000 per home, and I can tell you something, guys, that is the single reason why we've built and sold 25 homes. That is the single reason. And Tony, you know this, you helped put it together. If it wasn't for that, it wouldn't have happened. Now, I just don't think it's going to be as easy to sell a home in between doing the infields, I guess I should call it.
Thought we talked about upping that to 50.
So
or something.
I think the group needs to, you know, think and pursue that, because, you know, I'm sitting here looking at coming in and risking some things, but I'd like to, for you guys to possibly up the ante somehow for buyers in that type of an area. We haven't needed it up till now, but we need it now.
How much are you thinking?
I'm gonna let Grant take it from there. Me and him's talked about it, and I think that whatever you've talked to people about, I'd like you to say it.
I didn't hear the question, I'm sorry.
He's talking about upping the amounts between two rental properties because it's harder to sell. An amount that.
If you recall that matrix I put together, it would be 10% of the actual construction cost. So it would
No.
probably move up to 13,000 instead of 10,000, or 14, somewhere in there.
We just sold one, the one I just did on Martin Luther King. I just signed today, and we signed for 149.9. Reason why, I used hardy on, I put hardwood floors in it, we really did it up. I wanted to see what it would do. That is the most expensive house that I've sold as of yet. I think before that, I was shy of 145, and most of my houses have been, I went from 125, I'd say most of them been at 135 to 140 range, and I've had a few go over, 140. So that's we talked about the 10%. I think you'd be getting two things. You're encouraging people to put that little bit nicer home in Lawrenceburg maybe too.
We gonna have basements in these, are we able?
Did I what?
So we gonna be able to have basements in these?
You can have basements, Donnie, but basements cost, they're $12,000, if not a little more than that now. And I just don't know that a basement, if I put a basement in a house, now all of a sudden I gotta figure out, okay, what do I take out of that house? Because I'm selling them a basement. And in all honesty, of all the people that's bought the houses, ain't one of them complained. You think about it, what are basements for? You put stuff in them you don't need.
Yeah.
I'll sell in my basement.
Well, with
fill
the
'em up.
groundwater conditions in Lawrenceburg, it's
No.
not a plus anyway.
I mean, my basement over there is only 6 foot tall, and I think most of what Lawrenceburg is that way, isn't it? I've been in and out of a lot of them, and they're all bend-over type basements.
Yeah, you're not gonna have a 10-foot ceiling in a basement here.
Just for them.
Can we,
No.
do we have to wait till the 26th with UCB to make this change in the 10,000? Can we make that change now, or is this meeting with UCB, we just can't do anything until that meeting, or?
Well, I think UCB wants to take it to the board, and we gotta see that they're wanting to do it.
Okay.
And that's on the 20th.
Would it
And
help
we could follow
UCB,
up with a meeting right after that.
would it help UCB to make up their mind if we did say, look, instead of 10, we're gonna give you 10% of the total
Currently, the
cost, up to
current-
$13,000?
Currently, the documents from our discussions in August and September, we had talked about taking it to 10% of the construction cost on that matrix that I passed out.
Well, we can make a motion to go ahead and do that, and you can let them know, do you have the board's approval?
Would that help UCB, their board, do you think, that,
I think it's up to you all. I mean, I don't,
I mean, they're getting equity, they're getting 10% equity in whatever down, do they have to make
Yeah,
down?
it's
Bruce,
go-
can you forward that document that you're referring to everyone again?
it was that spreadsheet that I had. Yeah, I can get it out to everybody, but if we wait till the 20th, we'll have it down to exactly what the structure is.
Well, you think that 10% would help you sell the house a lot better between two rental properties?
You gotta have something there. Tony, what do you think? Me and you lived there all our life.
Oh, yeah. I mean, most of them don't want to move in next to the rental property, so that's a little boost to maybe make them move in there, buy there.
15%.
It's a gamble, but it was a gamble when we started this 4 years ago too. And I think it's you guys showing you've made a commitment to town.
Say with our development in downtown Lawrenceburg, there's been a big move of people wanting to move to Lawrenceburg, so we've got to have the housing there for them. They want a certain house, and
Yeah,
they don't want to build, they don't want to move in an old house they have to remodel. There's a lot of people like to have a new home here.
If anybody's looking for an old house, I'd have one available for them.
Most of the people that I'm selling the houses to are just trading rent payments.
Right.
I mean, they really are.
Yeah.
And the other thing too that we need to discuss is the current program is for a first-time home buyer. We got people that are giving up their bigger home and going to a smaller home that are up in years. So I think we've got to look at that, address that too at the next meeting or whenever we sit down, that we might want to broaden that issue.
It's first-time home buyers?
No,
It's first-time home buyers? I didn't think so.
no, it's not.
No,
What you're
it's
referring
anybody.
to, Grant, was there was an extra $8,000 in the beginning.
From the federal
The
government.
government gave,
That wasn't,
it wasn't us, it's not first-time home buyers.
Okay, there's some
Ours is free.
confusion because people are asking me about, can it be expanded further than first-time home buyers?
but it's.
In Lawrenceburg,
It's owner occupied.
in Lawrenceburg.
Owner occupied.
So,
I guess my only other question is if I can get an okay, it sounds like the bank and you guys are gonna be talking a little while, but if I was able to talk the bank into, all right, guys, here's what I got, I wanna start another one, and they say, okay, Grant, how would you feel about if I'm gonna build one in between a house, I mean, would I be eligible with my money and my bank arrangements for the 10%, or am I still at the 10,000? Because that's gonna keep me from doing my next house. If I get 10%, I'll do one, but I'm a little bit worried, I'm just a little worried about it. But I wanna start one.
right, but also the other thing that you mentioned, Paul, is you're concerned about building on a 33-foot lot. You want to go to the bigger lot,
I'll go to Euphemia Street.
you know, but now Euphemia, you originally sold to Euphemia that it would be a ADA.
I'll do an ADA if they wanna.
But that takes that's, we
I
try to
know
come up
it
with the
takes on, I
typical,
brought it in here and showed it to everybody.
right? You all recall the ADA one?
That's, I thought was a good idea, putting 3 houses on 4 lots.
Yeah.
Don't put them,
Yeah, I like that.
that's a
Yep.
great idea, doing 3
Well,
houses
trying
on
ahead.
4 lots.
You're not gonna have that option all the time.
Well,
You're not gonna have it all the time, but in this particular case, and plus you might not be able to work the deal out with the next guy. But I'm willing to build a house somewhere else while you guys get it worked out. And I would love to build an ADA house. But there again, I brought something in for everybody to see, and everybody we do enough for handicap, but I don't think really everybody understands we don't do anything for handicap.
if you don't get this, will your guys be working during Christmas if you don't get this?
I worked my guys the last 5 years, we'll be fine.
You'll work through, it's not,
But I gotta be honest with you, Ed, I've been doing this thing now for 4 years, and this is the most enjoyable thing that we do. And here's what you gotta understand, it ain't just my guys. It's the plumbers, it's the electricians, it's Aurora Lumber,
'cause we
it's
could have
Midway.
we could have an extra meeting right after with UCB and Grant. Whatever
Anything to
they
help
come up.
expedite.
I mean, all I'm saying is just push it. Just try to push it. I mean, I'll work with you. I want to do the houses. In my opinion, it's very rewarding and something to be proud of for everybody.
You know, these 25 houses, this is like a well-kept secret in Lawrenceburg. It really is. This and Proximo. I mean, no one knows what these two, what we've done in the last 4
Well,
years.
you guys did it, sitting right here. It was
Like I said,
your
it's-
creation. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. And you got a chance now, the next decision you make takes it into town, and you gotta keep in the mood when something comes up. Let's face it, guys, if a house comes up for 20 or 30 grand, it's seen its better days. Something needs to be done with it.
When are you gonna start building over on Front Street? That's where
It's on Frank.
Mario? Yeah. Yeah, I was curious about, is there any discussion on the other lot next to where Paul just finished up his house? And then a 33.
I don't think that one's been put up or anything.
It hadn't gone through 2 advertisements
And I
yet.
didn't
Martin Luther King, Hacker? No. What was the last name?
I've got the address, but under old business.
What's the address?
You can bring that up to,
What's the
Yeah.
address?
I'll have to go look it up real quick. You remember what the address is?
I think it's 519.
519.
519.
519 Martin Luther King.
Okay.
Well, Grant, as soon as you find out something, if you'll get a hold of everybody, I'm sure we'll come in and
Right.
sit down
Well,
and get to keep this thing moving.
Yeah, I mean, the program, it's been created and that. The only thing that threw a wrench in it in September and August was taking it and having a bank manage the loan. Then instead of, getting the loans out of here. So we're close.
Yeah, if you could send, I don't know that, and I may be in the multitude of emails that I get, but if you could resend the information by email, that would be great.
No problem.
Further discussion on the housing update? We'll move on to the Park Place subdivision. Great. Leslie?
At the last meeting, the Park Place subdivision was, the first 30-day notice was done on that. And I believe there were no offers made. So I would ask ask you guys to allow me to go ahead and do the RFP, and I will get with staff to come up with an appropriate one. I believe at first that they wanted to try to keep the 4 lots together to try to sell it. And then if that doesn't, if no one gives us any offers on that, then we would look at maybe doing them individually. We did get them appraised that way for that purpose.
Both ways? Or
Yes, both ways.
any discussion on Park Place subdivision? If not, I'll entertain a motion to go out for RFPs for the Park Place subdivision.
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Leslie Votaw, Event Center closing update.
As Mr. Jensen, he did refer to, us trying to get all of our ducks in a row to try to get this thing closed. One of the things I wanted to get approval from you guys, was to update the title commitment. That's one thing we'll have to do. That is with Dearborn Title. We also do have to, obtain a lender's, and it's actually a simultaneous issue, which means it'll be a lender/owner's policy. The good news is because it's a commercial building over 50 million, it took our price down about $7,000. So, if any good news is out of that event center, that's definitely, there are also, and I don't necessarily understand any kind of the endorsements, but, I think we definitely will need to get with Indiana Gaming to see what type of endorsements they may want. I don't think that we're going to have any endorsements, but they may. So I just need approval for the update and the title commitment, and then also to obtain the lender and owner's policy in anticipation of closing.
Any discussion?
Sound like a winner.
Entertain a motion.
So move.
Got a motion? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Motion carries. Anything else? Approval of claims once properly certified.
So move.
Got a first, need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Comments from the audience? Connor?
That address was 519.
So we can make sure we bring that up at next meeting.
You can bring that old business meeting.
Has it been advertised both ways? Just one, not at all?
Twice. It's been advertised both ways, I believe.
He said not at all.
I don't think 519 does.
Yes, it has. I'm almost positive it has. It's been a while. I'll check on it. I'll get with.
That's the one we just demoed.
We just demoed that one. I don't think, we haven't had a chance to.
Has 519 been advertised yet, Paul?
No,
So that one it was previously advertised with the buildings on it, correct?
For demolition.
No, I mean, it was before. I think we advertised it like years ago, like maybe a couple years ago. We advertised it.
No, we just purchased this from Dee's mom.
That's,
It went from Bugsy to Terrence. These mom to you, right?
Correct.
okay, maybe I'm thinking 518? Is that across the street?
Property.
Well, 518 is what he just
Paul finished.
517. He just
517.
finished
519 and a half.
Okay.
I say, so 519
He just finished
MLK,
one on MLK, that's it.
he wants to
The one next
reopen
to
it so that you can vote to do whatever we need to do on that. On 519 Martin Luther King.
Any comment on 519 Martin Luther King?
So I just need the okay to proceed with the notice and offer, the
Appraisals.
first notice and offer advertising.
For the appraised value?
Yes.
So
Well,
moved.
we'll obviously have to get
Second.
the appraisal too.
We got first and a second, all in favor? Aye. All against? Motion carries. Any more comments from the audience? Motion to adjourn?
Wait, before, over by the Levy Commons, between the entrance to Hollywood Casino and the houses, that area back, that looks like a laydown area. Whose is all that stuff back there?
That's mine.
Just
I
one.
want to build a house there for myself.
Okay,
And I got Ryan digging the foundations, and he's got his track over there. That's the spot you're looking at.
okay, so that's yours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Only 6 things.
What's your 2.5, 3 lots there? I guess how,
Two
all
and a
depends how
half.
you do the drive, I guess.
One of them's unbuildable, yeah, so there's 2.5. And they're all smaller than 33 by 132. They're shorter.
I thought it was Ryan, I saw Ryan Howard on, I was just wondering why he's,
He's been digging my foundation.
okay, all right.
Doing the work, yeah.
Motion to adjourn?
Move.
First, second, all in favor? All against?
Good job.
60 minutes.
We're good till December with sites on that.
Do you want me to sign something?
Not until I'll get a hold of you. No, I don't know if we'll do the settlement agreement right away. Right. The letter.
Well, they've got to pick up from here on out. There's no sense us. It's moving now.
I've been putting up storm windows all day and everything.
Wore out, that's what
I'm not
it
wore out, I'm just getting old.
is. Tell me about that.
The 20th.
But there was a lot of people down there at the whiskey thing.